The demography of Israel is monitored by the Israel Central Bureau of Statistics. The State of Israel has a population of approximately 8,134,100 inhabitants as of the end of 2013. 75% of them are Jewish, 20.7% are Arabs, while the remaining 4.3% are defined as others. Israel's annual population growth rate stood at 1.9% in 2013, 3 times faster than the OECD average of around 0.6%. With an average of 3 children per woman, Israel also has the highest fertility rate in the OECD by a considerable margin, and much higher than the OECD average of 1.7. Generally, population trends in Israel reflect distinct patterns of 3 subgroups: mainstream Jews, Haredi Jews, and Arabs. Over the past decade, the Arab annual population growth has fallen significantly from around 3% to less than 2.2% by 2013, while the overall Jewish growth rate rose from around 1.4% to 1.7%, primarily due to the expanding Haredi sector. Definition: the territory of Israel can be defined in a number of ways as a result of a complex and unresolved political situation. For example, whilst the Israel Central Bureau of Statistics defines the area of Israel to include the annexed East Jerusalem and Golan Heights and to exclude the militarily controlled regions of the West Bank and Gaza Strip, it defines the population of Israel to also include Israeli settlers living in the West Bank. Cities. Within Israel's system of local government, an urban municipality can be granted a city council by the Israeli Interior Ministry when its population exceeds 20,000. The term city does not generally refer to local councils or urban agglomerations, even though a defined city often contains only a small portion of an urban area or metropolitan area's population. This number includes occupied East Jerusalem and West Bank areas. Ethnic and religious groups. The most prominent ethnic and religious groups, who live in Israel at present and who are Israeli citizens or nationals, are as follows: Jews. According to Israel's Central Bureau of Statistics, in 2008, of Israel's 7.3 million people, 75.6% were Jews of any background. Among them, 70.3% were Sabras, mostly second or third generation Israelis, and the rest are Olama 20.5% from Europe and the Americas, and 9.2% from Asia and Africa, including the Arab countries. The ethnic division of the Jewish population of Israel as of 2009 is as follows. The errors occurring due to these calculations were: the census follows only the paternal origin of families. The majority of marriages in Israel are of mixed ethnic origins. There was no distinction made between Sephardim and Mizrahim. Many Sephardim from Turkey were counted as Mizrahim. Mountain Jews, Jordan Jews and Bukharan Jews, who together constitute 15% of FSU Jews, counted as European Jews until 1996. The Harbin Jews from China counted as Mizrahim, although they were Russian-speaking communities of European origin. After 1996, Russian-speaking Ashkenazim from Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzia and Armenia counted as Mizrahim. Close to 20,000 South African Jews were classified as Mizrahim, although almost all of them are of European Jewish origin. A few hundred Black Hebrews from the United States were classified as Ashkenazim. All Jews from Latin America were classified as Ashkenazim, although significant numbers are Sephardim. Close to 3/5 of the Latin American Jews in Israel are Argentine, with 1/10 each from Uruguay and Brazil. 86,000 Bulgarian Greek Jews are classified as Ashkenazim, although the majority are Sephardim Romaniotes. Jews whose Jewishness was not recognized were not counted. Almost all of them were Ashkenazim. Secularity. The 2009 survey by the Gutman Center found the following distribution: believing in the existence of God euro 80%, not believing in the existence of God euro 20%. Fertility rates also differ significantly. Professor Anand Sofer found that in 2007, 110,000 Jewish babies were born, of which only around 18,000 were to secular families. Arabs. Arab citizens of Israel are those Arab residents of Mandatory Palestine, who remained within Israel's borders following the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, and the establishment of the State of Israel. It is including those born within the state borders subsequent to this time, as well as those who had left during the Exodus, who have since re-entered by means accepted as lawful residents by the Israeli state. In 2006, the official number of Arab residents in Israel was 1,413,500 people, about 20% of Israeli unregistered trademark S population. This figure includes 209,000 Arabs in East Jerusalem, also counted in the Palestinian statistics, although 98% of East Jerusalem Palestinians have either Israeli residency or Israeli citizenship. Most Arab citizens of Israel are Muslim, particularly of the Sunni branch of Islam, and there is a significant Arab Christian minority from various denominations, numbering 122,000 a majority of Christians in Israel. As of 2008, Arab citizens of Israel comprise just over 20% of the country's total population. About 82.6% of the Arab population in Israel was Sunni Muslim, another 9% was Druze, and around 9% was Christian. Bedouin. The Arab Muslim citizens of Israel include also the Bedouins, who are divided into two main groups, the Bedouin in the north of Israel, who live in villages and towns for the most part, and the Bedouin in the Negev, who include half-nomadic and inhabitants of towns and unrecognized villages. According to the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as of 1999, 110,000 Bedouins live in the Negev, 50,000 in the Galilee and 10,000 in the central region of Israel. Other Arabic-speaking groups, Druze. The Arab citizens of Israel include also the Druze, who were numbered at an estimated 129,800 at the end of 2011. All of the Druze living in what was then British Mandate Palestine became Israeli citizens after the declaration of the State of Israel. Though some individuals identify themselves as Palestinian Druze, most Druze do not consider themselves to be Palestinian, and consider their Israeli identity stronger than their Arab identity. Druze serve prominently in the Israel Defense Forces, and are represented in mainstream Israeli politics and business as well, unlike Muslim Arabs who are not required to and choose not to serve in the Israeli army. Maronites. The Maronite Christian community in Israel of around 7,000 resides mostly in the Galilee, with a presence in Haifa, Nazareth and Jerusalem. It is largely composed of families that lived in Palestine in villages such as Jish long before the establishment of Israel in 1948. In recent years, the community was joined by some former pro-Israeli Lebanese militia members and their families, who fled Lebanon after 2000 withdrawal of IDF from South Lebanon. Copts, some 1,000 Israeli citizens belong to the Coptic community, originated in Egypt. Other citizens, Samaritans. The Samaritans are an ethno-religious group of the Levant. Ancestrally, they claim descent from a group of Israelite inhabitants who have connections to ancient Samaria from the beginning of the Babylonian exile up to the beginning of the Common Era. 2007 population estimates show that 712 Samaritans live half in Holon, Israel and half at Mount Gerizim in the West Bank. The Holon community holds Israeli citizenship, while the Gerizim community resides at an Israeli-controlled enclave, holding dual Israeli-Palestinian citizenship. Argentines. Argentines in Israel are the largest immigrant group from Latin America and one of the fastest-growing groups. The vast majority of Argentines in Israel are Jewish Argentines who make Aliyah, but there is also an important group of non-Jewish Argentines who have chosen Israel as their new home. There are about 50,000 Argentines residing in Israel, although some estimates put the figure at 70,000. Most Jewish Argentines are Ashkenazi Jews. Armenians. About 4,000 Armenians reside in Israel, mostly in Jerusalem, but also in Tel Aviv, Haifa and Jaffa. Armenians have a patriarchate in Jerusalem and churches in Jerusalem, Haifa and Jaffa. Although Armenians of Old Jerusalem have Israeli identity cards, they are officially holders of Jordanian passports. Circassians. In Israel, there are also a few thousand Circassians, living mostly in Kfar Kama and Rioni. These two villages were a part of a greater group of Circassian villages around the Golan Heights. The Circassians in Israel enjoy, like Druzes, a status apart. male Circassians are mandated for military service, while females are not. Assyrians. There are around 1,000 ethnic Assyrians living in Israel, mostly in Jerusalem and Nazareth. Assyrians are an Aramaic-speaking, Eastern Rite Christian minority who were descended from the ancient Mesopotamians. The old Syriac Orthodox monastery of St. Mark lies in Jerusalem. Other than followers of the Syriac Orthodox Church, there are also followers of the Assyrian Church of the East and the Chaldean Catholic Church living in Israel. People from post-Soviet states, non-Jewish immigrants from the former Soviet Union, many of whom are ethnic Russians, Ukrainians, and Belarusians, who were eligible to immigrate due to having, or being married to somebody who has, at least one Jewish grandparent. A very small number of these immigrants also belong to various non-Slavic ethnic groups from the former Soviet Union such as Moldovans, Tatars, Germans among others. In addition, a certain number of former Soviet citizens, primarily women of Russian and Ukrainian ethnicity, immigrated to Israel, after marrying Muslim or Christian Arab citizens of Israel, who went to study in the former Soviet Union in the 1970s and 1980s. The total number of those primarily Slavic ancestry people among Israeli citizens is around 40,000. Finns. Although most Finns in Israel are either Finnish Jews or their descendants, a small number of Finnish Christians moved to Israel in the 1940s before the independence and have since then gained citizenship following the independence. For the most part, many of the original Finnish settlers intermarried with the other Israeli communities in the country, and therefore remain very small in number. A moshad near Jerusalem named Yad HaShmona, meaning the Memorial for the Eight, was established in 1971 by a group of Finnish Christian Israelis, although today most members are Israeli and are predominantly Hebrew speakers, and the moshad has become a center of Messianic Jews. Romani. Some Eastern European Romani are known to have arrived in Israel in the late 1940s and early 1950s, being from Bulgaria or having intermarried with Jews in the post-WWII displaced persons camps or, in some cases, having pretended to be Jews when Zionist representatives arrived in those camps. The exact numbers of these Romanis living in Israel are unknown, since such individuals tended to assimilate into the Israeli Jewish environment. According to several recent accounts in the Israeli press, some families preserve traditional Romani lullabies and a small number of Romani expressions and curse words, and pass them on to generations born in Israel who, for the most part, are Jews and speak Hebrew. The Romani community in Israel has grown since the 1990s, as some Roma immigrated there from the former Soviet Union. A community related to the Romanis and living in Israel and the Palestinian territories and in neighboring countries are known as Dom people. Vietnamese. The number of Vietnamese people in Israel is estimated at 400. Most of them came to Israel in between 1976 and 1979, after Prime Minister Menachem Begin authorized their admission to Israel and granted them political asylum. The Vietnamese people living in Israel are Israeli citizens who also serve in the Israel Defense Forces. Today, the majority of the community lives in the Gush Dan area in the center of Tel Aviv, but also a few dozen Vietnamese Israelis or Israelis of Vietnamese origin live in Haifa, Jerusalem and Ofakim. African Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem. The African Hebrew Israelite Nation of Jerusalem is a small spiritual group whose members believe they are descended from the 10 lost tribes of Israel. With a population of over 5,000, most members live in their own community in Dimona, Israel, with additional families in Arad, Mitzrayim, and the Tiberias area. At least some of them consider themselves to be Jewish, but mainstream scholarship does not consider them to be of Israelite but of sub-Saharan African origin. Their ancestors were African Americans who after several years in Liberia migrated to Israel in the late 1960s and demanded that Israel give them citizenship in the state. When Israel refused, they relinquished their United States citizenship and de facto became stateless. After some deliberation, the Israeli government granted them citizenship. The African Hebrew Israelites, like the Haredim and Israeli Arabs, are not required to serve in the military. However, they do receive social benefits from the state, including free health care. Most believe in Jesus and the New Testament. However, one member of the community underwent a conversion to Orthodox Judaism and served in the Israeli army. Naturalized foreign workers. Some naturalized foreign workers and their Israeli-born children, predominantly from the Philippines, Nepal, Nigeria, Senegal, Romania, China, Cyprus, Turkey, Thailand and South America. Non-citizens, African migrants. The number and status of African refugees in Israel is disputed and controversial, but it is estimated that at least 70,000 refugees mainly from Eritrea, Sudan, South Sudan, Ethiopia and the Ivory Coast reside and work in Israel. A recent check published in Init pointed out the number only in Tel Aviv is 40,000, which represents 10% of the city's population. The vast majority is living at the southern parts of the city. There is a significant population in the southern Israeli cities of Eilat, Arad and Beersheba. Foreign workers. There are around 300,000 foreign workers residing in Israel under temporary work visas. Most of those foreign workers engage in agriculture and construction. The main groups of those foreign workers include the Chinese, Thai, Filipino, Nigerian, Romanian and Latin Americans. Other refugees, approximately 200 refugees from Bosnia, Kosovo, Kurdistan and North Korea who were absorbed in Israel as refugees, most of them were also given Israeli resident status and currently reside in Israel. Languages. Due to its immigrant nature, Israel is one of the most multicultural and multilingual societies in the world. Hebrew and Arabic are the official languages in the country, while English and Russian are the two most widely spoken non-official languages. Georgian, Yiddish, Romanian, Ukrainian, Azerbaijani, Amharic, Armenian, Bulgarian, Ladino, French, Persian, Hungarian, Spanish, German, Chinese, Vietnamese, Thai, Tagalog, Fur, Tigrinya, Bialm, Turkish, Portuguese, Greek, Hindi, Malayalam, Mizo, Kikhish and Polish are the most commonly used other foreign languages. A certain degree of English is spoken widely, and is the language of choice for many Israeli businesses. Courses of Hebrew and English language are mandatory in the Israeli school system, and most schools offer either Arabic, Spanish, German or French. Religion. According to a 2010 Israel Central Bureau of Statistics study of Israelis aged over 18, 8% of Israeli Jews define themselves as Haredim. An additional 12% are religious. 13% consider themselves religious traditionalists. 25% are non-religious traditionalists, and 43% are secular. Among the seculars, 53% say they believe in God. Due to the higher birth rate of religious and traditionalists over seculars, their share among the overall population is growing as time passes. Education. Education between ages 5 and 15 is compulsory. It is not free, but it is subsidized by the government, individual organizations or a combination. Parents are expected to participate in courses as well. The school system is organized into kindergartens, 6-year primary schools, and either 6-year secondary schools or 3-year junior secondary schools plus 3-year senior secondary schools, after which a comprehensive examination is offered for university admissions. Policy. As Israel's continued existence as a Jewish state relies upon maintenance of a Jewish demographic majority, Israeli demographers, politicians and bureaucrats have treated Jewish population growth promotion as a central question in their research and policy making. Non-Jewish population growth and immigration is regarded as a threat to the Jewish demographic majority and to Israel's security, as detailed in the Koenig Memorandum. Israel is the 34th most densely crowded country in the world. In an academic article, Jewish National Fund board member Daniel Orenstein argues that, as elsewhere, overpopulation is a stressor on the environment in Israel. He shows that environmentalists have conspicuously failed to consider the impact of population on the environment and argues that overpopulation in Israel has not been appropriately addressed for ideological reasons. Citizenship and Entry Law. The Citizenship and Entry into Israel Law 5763 was first passed on July 31, 2003 and has since been extended until July 31, 2008. The law places age restrictions for the automatic granting of Israeli citizenship and residency permits to spouses of Israeli citizens, such that spouses who are inhabitants of the West Bank and Gaza Strip are ineligible. On May 8, 2005, the Israeli Ministerial Committee for Issues of Legislation once again amended the Citizenship and Entry into Israel law, to restrict citizenship and residence in Israel only to Palestinian men over the age of 35, and Palestinian women over the age of 25. Those in favor of the law say the law not only limits the possibility of the entrance of terrorists into Israel, but, as Zev Boim asserts, allows Israel to maintain the state's democratic nature, but also its Jewish nature. Critics, including the United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, say the law disproportionately affects Arab citizens of Israel, since Arabs in Israel are far more likely to have spouses from the West Bank and Gaza Strip than other Israeli citizens. In the constitutional challenges to the Citizenship and Entry to Israel law, the state, represented by the Attorney General, insisted that security was the only objective behind the law. The state also added that even if the law was intended to achieve demographic objectives, it is still in conformity with Israel's Jewish and democratic definition and thus constitutional. In a 2012 ruling by the Supreme Court on the issue, some of the judges on the panel discussed demography and were inclined to accept that demography is a legitimate consideration in devising family reunification policies that violate the right to family life. Soviet immigration. During the 1970s, about 163,000 people emigrated to Israel from the USSR. Later Ariel Sharon, in his capacity as Minister of Housing and Construction and member of the Ministerial Committee for Immigration and Absorption, launched an unprecedented large-scale construction effort to accommodate the new Russian population in Israel so as to facilitate their smooth integration and encourage further Jewish immigration as an ongoing means of increasing the Jewish population of Israel. Between 1989 and 2006, about 979,000 emigrated from former Soviet Union to Israel. Statistics: total population, 8,051,200, note, includes over 200,000 Israelis and 250,000 Arabs in East Jerusalem, about 325,000 Israeli settlers in the West Bank, and about 42,000 in the Golan Heights. Does not include Arab populations in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. Does not include 222,000 foreigners living in the country. Age structure. Total, 0 14 years, 28.0%, 15 64 years, 62.1%, 65 years and over, 9.9%, Jews, 0 14 years, 25.5%, 15 64 years, 63.1%, 65 years and over, 11.4%, Arab, 0 14 years, 37.5%, 15 64 years, 58.6%, 65 years and over, 3.9%, median age, total, 29.7. Jewish, 31.6, Arab, 21.1. The Jewish median age in Jerusalem district and the West Bank are 24.9 and 19.7 respectively, and both account for 16% of the Jewish population but 24% of 0 4-year-olds. The lowest median age in Israel and one of the lowest in the world is found in two of West Bank biggest Jewish cities, Modi'in Illit, Beitar Illit, followed by Bedouin towns in the Negev. Population growth rate, 1.9%. During the 1990s, the Jewish population growth rate was about 3% per year, as a result of massive immigration to Israel, primarily from the republics of the former Soviet Union. There is also a high population growth rate among certain Jewish groups, especially adherents of Haredi Judaism. The growth rate of the Arab population in Israel is 2.2%, while the growth rate of the Jewish population in Israel is 1.7%. The growth rate of the Arab population has slowed from 3.8% in 1999 to 2.2% in 2013, and for the Jewish population the growth rate declined from 2.7% to its lowest rate of 1.4% in 2005, before picking up moderately since then to 1.7%. Birth rate, 21.3 births/1,000 population, according to research cult Biolreads. Between the mid-1980s and 2000, the birth rate in the Muslim sector was stable at 4.6 4.7 children per woman. After 2001 a gradual decline became evident, reaching 3.51 children per woman in 2011. By point of comparison, in 2011 there was a slowly rising birth rate of 2.98 children among the Jewish population. Death rate, 5.42 deaths/1,000 population. There were a total of 38,666 deaths in 2006. Of this, 33,568 were Jews, 3,078 were Muslims, 360 were Druze, 712 were Christian. Net migration rate, 1.81 migrant, s/1,000 population. There were a total of 19,269 immigrants in 2006, 7,472 from the former Soviet Union, 3,595 from Ethiopia, 2,411 from France, 2,159 from the United States, 594 from the United Kingdom, 304 from India, 293 from Argentina, 232 from Brazil, 228 from Canada, 142 from Colombia, 134 from Venezuela, 114 from South Africa, 112 from Germany, 91 from Belgium, 91 from Central America, 85 from Switzerland, 73 from Uruguay, 72 from Mexico, 66 from Oceania, 63 from Hungary, 61 from Chile, 50 from Romania and 50 from the Netherlands. Emigration. For many years definitive data on Israeli immigration was unavailable. In the Israeli diaspora, sociologist Stephen J. Gold maintains that calculation of Jewish emigration has been a contentious issue, explaining, since Zionism, the philosophy that underlies the existence of the Jewish state, calls for return home of the world's Jews, the opposite movement Israelis leaving the Jewish state to reside elsewhere clearly presents an ideological and demographic problem. In the past several decades, emigration has seen a considerable increase. From 1990 to 2005, 230,000 Israelis left the country. A large proportion of these departures included people who initially immigrated to Israel and then reversed their course. 8% of Jewish immigrants in the post-1990 period left Israel, while 15% of non-Jewish immigrants did. In 2005 alone, 21,500 Israelis left the country and had not yet returned at the end of 2006. Among them 73% were Jews, 5% Arabs, and 22% others. At the same time, 10,500 Israelis came back to Israel after over 1 year abroad. 84% were Jews, 9% others, and 7% Arabs. According to the Israel Central Bureau of Statistics, as of 2005, 650,000 Israelis had left the country for over 1 year and not returned. Of them, 530,000 are still alive today. This number does not include the children born overseas. It should also be noted that Israeli law grants citizenship only to the first generation of children born to Israeli immigrants. Density. Geographic deployment: Central District, 24%, Tel Aviv District, 17%, Northern District, 17%, Southern District, 14%, Haifa District, 12%, Jerusalem District, 12%, Judea and Samaria Area, 4.5%, Sex ratio, at birth, 1.05 male, s/female, under 15 years, 1.05 male, s/female, 15 euro 64 years, 1.03 male, s/female, 65 years and over, 0.78 male, s/female, total population, 1.01 male, s/female, maternal mortality rate, 7. Deaths/100,000 live births, infant mortality rate, total, 4.03 deaths/1,000 live births, male, 4.20 deaths/1,000 live births, female, 3.84 deaths/1,000 live births, Life expectancy at birth, total population, 81.17 years, male, 78.96 years, female, 83.49 years, total fertility rate, 3.00 children born woman, 2013 3.05 3.35 2.13 2.21 1.68 3.03. Jewish total fertility rate increased by 10.2% during 1998 to Euro 2009, and was recorded at 2.90 during 2009. During the same time period, Arab TFR decreased by 20.5%. Muslim TFR was measured at 3.73 for 2009. During 2000, the Arab TFR in Jerusalem was higher than that of the Jews residing there. But as of 2009, Jewish TFR in Jerusalem was measured higher than the Arab TFR. TFR for Arab residents in the West Bank was measured at 2.91 in 2013, while that for the Jewish residents was reported at 5.10 children per woman. The ethnic group with highest recorded TFR is the Bedouin of Negev. Their TFR was reported at 10.06 in 1998 and 5.73 in 2009. TFR is also very high among Haredi Jews. For Ashkenazi Haredim, the TFR rose to 8.51 in 1996 from 6.91 in 1980. The figure for 2008 is estimated to be even higher. TFR for Sephardi Mizrahi Haredim rose from 4.57 in 1980 to 6.57 in 1996. Health expenditures, 7.6% of total GDP, physicians density, 3.63 physicians/1,000 population, hospital bed density, 3.5 beds/1,000 population, HIV/AIDS a Euro adult prevalence rate, 0.2%, OBS/ETU a Euro adult prevalence rate, 26.2%, education expenditures, 5.9% of total GDP, literacy, age 15 and over can read and write, total population, 97.1%, male, 98.5%, female, 95.9%. Future projections. In June 2013, the Central Bureau of Statistics released a demographic report, projecting that Israel's population would grow to 11.4 million by 2035, with the Jewish population numbering 8.3 million, or 73% of the population, and the Arab population at 2.6 million, or 23%. This includes some 2.3 million Muslims, 185,000 Druze, and 152,000 Christians. The report predicts that the Israeli population growth rate will decline to 1.4% annually, with growth in the Muslim population remaining higher than the Jewish population until 2035, at which point the Jewish population will begin growing the fastest. See also. References. Further reading. External links. Official website of the Israel Central Bureau of Statistics, Demographics of Israel at the Jewish Virtual Library. Population of Israel by the Tourism Ministry, Israel entry at the World Factbook, Issues in Israeli Society at the Jewish Agency for Israel, Israel, Society and Culture at DMOZ.